Welcome to the Happiness and Success After Illinois Tech podcast with the Illinois Tech alumni. We're so happy you're here, and we can't wait for you to be inspired from all these real-life stories of people that attended Illinois Tech, graduated, and found success. No matter your major, your background, or where you're from, success and happiness are possible, and here are the stories to prove it. All right, welcome everyone to this episode. My guest this week is Frank Landaverde. Welcome, Frank.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me. I really do appreciate this opportunity.
Yeah, it's good to have you here. So I get a lot of I find my podcast guests in a different way. Sometimes I find them myself, sometimes other people recommend someone, and I can't remember, were you recommended or did I find you?
I think with BJ, I think somehow through BJ we made that connection, right? I think my involvement in the board of directors, the alumni board of directors, that's where I think we kind of crossed paths.
Okay, cool. All right. So tell everyone when you graduated from Illinois Tech and what you majored in. What's your degree in?
Sure. So I graduated back in 1993, and I graduated with a double E degree, with an electrical engineering degree.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And did you undergrad?
Yes, undergrad. Yep.
Okay, cool. So what are you doing now, and what did you do with that electrical engineering degree? Did you always know you wanted to study electrical engineering? What was that like for you?
Well, yeah. So, I was that kid that was programming in BASIC when I was 12 years old, on my Commodore 64, and that will date me. But that's the kid that I was. I always knew that I wanted to be an electrical engineer. I also loved radio frequency communications. I was always just enthralled with FM radio and walkie-talkies, and I knew that that's what I wanted to do. So ever since I was 12 years old, I was going to be an electrical engineer. Now, I didn't know exactly what that meant or what I was actually going to do. I mean, as I was going through my curriculum and taking circuit analysis and taking classes like that, I really thought I was going to be building circuits for some company, right? I don't know what that meant. I couldn't even picture myself, on a breadboard with transistors and resistors, but that's what I thought I was going to do. Little did I know it was going to be completely different. So
you're talking to someone who's not technically savvy, although obviously I work with students who are extremely technically savvy all day long. So when you go to get this degree at Illinois Tech, you're like, I want to study this. Did someone around you tell you to do it? Where you're like, I love doing it, but this is the degree I need to have so I can get this job? Or where was the connection with? Obviously, you had a knack for it, but where was the connection with? Okay, you can go do this in the real world, and this is what the job looks like. How did that?
So that's a good question, right? So I did grow up in the neighborhoods of Chicago, right? And being a Latino in the neighborhoods of Chicago, I think your expectations are just not that high. You know what I mean? Sometimes that really gets in the way. But I think my parents did a really, really good job at telling us, you could really reach levels that we never did, right? And I really was first generation college student. I was the first person in my family to have graduated, and with electrical engineering degree, no less. I mean, why I picked that? It was really the only thing for me. It was electrical engineering or bust, which I think made me focus completely on it. Early on in my college career, it did not go well. I mean, I was really ill prepared for what was coming to me. I didn't go to a challenging high school. I didn't take calculus in high school. So I was coming in. I don't know how I placed into calculus, because you have to take a placement test. Somehow I placed into calculus, but I had never taken it. So I struggled mightily. And I think one of the things that got me through is that grit that I think we develop in, being Latino in the neighborhoods. There's a certain grit and work ethic that we develop, that I realized that in order for me to compete, I had to just work harder than I had ever worked before. And that carried me through, and it's actually carried me through my entire career. And it's been 30 years now, which I really hate to admit, but yes, it's been 30 years since. So it's really been that hard work and that ethic. that work ethic.
I don't like when people say, I hate to admit my age, or I'm showing my age. I don't like it because if we didn't have people like me and like you who have already been in the corporate world or the real
Right.
world for working on it, we wouldn't have for all these years, we wouldn't have any wisdom to share. We wouldn't have any lessons
Correct.
learned to share with people just graduating, which is exactly what this podcast is about, right?
Right.
And
Right.
I just don't like it because people are like downplaying what they've done and how hard they work, and obviously you've worked hard. And I didn't know that you were first generation. That's really, really cool. I just talked to some
Yeah.
students the other day who were, and it's so inspiring and it's so exciting because, like you said, not everyone has examples of what else is out there. So your
Hmm.
expectations, their expectations might be low. And then they get into a place like Illinois Tech and see everything, all the cool things everyone's doing. It's like, oh, wow.
Yeah.
I just, that's what I love about the school so much. It's like, there's so much happening in the real world and in our little world in Illinois Tech.
Yeah.
Innovatively speaking, technology speaking, all of those really cool things that are moving the planet forward. And it's so fun to see these young minds starting to embrace that and saying, okay, wait, what could I do? Anything's possible. What could I be? It's so fun. But to see examples of that, people that actually did it, just like you,
Yeah.
is exactly what I think they need to see. And my older son, my younger son's there now, but my older one graduated from Illinois Tech 4 years ago. And he's told me, Mom, I wish we would have had this podcast when I was a freshman at Illinois Tech, because
Yeah.
I would love to have heard the stories that you're
Right.
telling now of to see what's possible, instead of you just see your classmates around you, and some of them, that's all they have. And then they go home, or they go back to whatever, they go back to the study in the library or the computer, and they never talk to anyone.
Exactly. Exactly.
And I think that's a big mistake. And I'm learning from a lot of my guests. I wish I would have done it a little bit differently early on to get to know some people and hear the lessons like you're talking about. Yeah.
And that really is my motivation, right? Why am I on the board of directors of the Alumni Association? Why am I even doing this podcast? Is because I feel like I have overcome a lot of obstacles. There's a lot that I can share to help others, right? And sometimes I ask myself, well, what else can I do for other engineers, for Latino engineers, Latina engineers, right? What can we do to help them through? And this is why I'm here, right? Because if we share our stories, if we tell them our paths in the corporate world, because I did spend 20 years in corporate through various levels of engineering management, I think it's important, and it helps people. It helps them motivate them, because I remember being, in the thralls of finals in my first couple of years, where I was really, really struggling. It's a very dark place when you're on your own. And I was a commuter, right? I'm a Chicago born and raised, and I was a commuter, and that just, you're in, you're out. And now you're at home, just in darkness, right? You're alone. So somehow I made it through. But the point is, there's safety in numbers, right? If you align yourself with people, if you hear about success stories, it can motivate you and it can get you through. Because just like I was able to pull through, a lot of my friends did not. You know what I mean? I saw so many people start and not complete. And that's, again, one of my goals, one of my motivations is, how do we keep at least one more engineer from quitting? Let's just
how did
keep
you
going.
do it? So you were saying you had grit and you were like, I'm just going to work harder, but were your parents like rooting for you? Or I'm sure all the friends that you're talking about had parents, and some of them were encouraging them to stay in, or at least to get into the school to begin with. What was different? What do you think it was about you that made you say, I'm finishing this?
Well, I think it is that grit, right? The second thing is, I was always deeply motivated to succeed. I was deeply motivated to get ahead. My mom cleaned houses for a living, right? So I always had this feeling, this need to help my parents. They had I have two younger brothers, put us through college. How did they do it? I have no idea. Because, my parents were blue collar. Like I said, my mom was cleaning houses to make ends meet. I don't know how they did it. So that gave me this foundation that said, they have built this family circle for me to succeed. And if I don't, I'll be just letting them down.
Yeah. So like, you saw their struggle. By the way, my mom was clean at some point in her life, was cleaning banks and stuff like that too. So I get it. So you saw them struggle, and then you saw they're going out of their way for you. And if you don't continue with what
Right.
the sacrifices they made for you to make your
Yeah.
life better, then you're just letting them down. So I like that. I like that it mattered to you that they're putting themselves on the line so that you could have something better, and you
Yeah.
that and respected that, instead of just like, oh, okay, then I'll just do what you're doing. No, they wanted something better for you, which is why they were working so hard.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And spoiler alert, they're now retired in Florida and they have a beautiful home in Florida. And it really, really, really is because of my own successes in engineering, right? And now I have them retired in Florida, out of Chicago. Yeah, exactly, exactly.
Awesome. So yeah, tell me more about the board of directors with the Alumni Association. I know we're always trying to get more alumni involved. How'd you get involved with that? Or tell me about the students that are about to graduate or have already graduated, and how can they get involved, and what do you recommend?
Well, the reason why I got involved is because there's this big push in corporate America right now, and they're being very, very intentional about having representative teams, right? They really want to bring in black and brown. They really want to bring in females. They really want to make this, and they're being very intentional about it. So the opportunities are there. Now, are we producing enough engineers to fill that need?
Yeah.
And I don't know if we are or not. But I know that Illinois Tech is in the heart of the city, in the heart of the city that is the most diverse city probably in the world, or at least one of them anyway. So Illinois Tech really has the capabilities of being the supplier of talent, of diverse talent throughout all of corporate America and beyond, right? So the question came, well, what am I doing about it? So I would like to help. And then one of my, just like I said, build your network, right? That's another thing that I tell young people, build your network. Through my network, I worked with somebody at Motorola many, many years ago who went to IIT. We somehow reconnected. And she said, hey, listen, I am on the board of directors. I think the things that you want to do, the things that you stand for could really help our board of directors. So can you join a couple of committees? So I joined a couple of committees. Next thing you know, I'm voted in as on the board of directors. And now, I really do focus on two different areas, right? And that is placement. We would really love to find more and more diverse students in the neighborhoods of Chicago, right? Where I came from. How do we find them, right? And that's something that we focus on. Two is, once they're in, how do we prepare them? How do we prepare them to deal with corporate life? So those two areas were just so hit so hard, so close to me that that's what I'm doing. And that's how you and I met. And that's how I ended up doing this podcast, through this involvement, right? That really comes from wanting to help.
Okay. And so do you recommend the students just get involved with do you recommend them they get involved with the alumni network before they actually graduate, or wait till they graduate and then what's the best course of action to stay connected?
No, that's a good question, right? Because it comes in two ways. One is, I recommend that all students take advantage of all the programs that are within Illinois Tech. There's a lot. Illinois Tech wants everybody to succeed and have jobs, right? I mean, that's what they want. So they put a lot of programs in place. A lot of those programs are affiliated with the Alumni Association. One in particular is mentorship. Yeah. Right. It's something that I wish that I had done. I really went into the corporate world completely fresh, and it shouldn't have been that way. Yeah. I should have been able to talk to people who were already working there, just be a mentee, right? Yeah. Find a mentor who can help me navigate. So I recommend all students to take advantage of that. And it's never too early. You can be a freshman and reach out to that network, reach out to Illinois Tech, and find a mentor. And I think it's important too, that we as alumni get more and more volunteers, right? Because it's important that we provide enough mentors so that we can say, look for a mentor that looks like you. Yeah. Right? It's important. Mentors that look like me. It's important because, from the background that I come from, it's one thing to hear, hey, there's opportunities for you. And if you don't look like me, I say, maybe there's opportunities for you,
Yeah, yeah.
right? But I don't think there's opportunities for me, right? So it's important that we build that trust and that there are people that look like you that are telling you there are opportunities, there are jobs to be
Yeah.
filled. There is a way that you can impact not only your generation, but the generation before and the generation after.
Yes.
If you just focus and let's get through this, let's get the skills that are needed to fill those opportunities. Because no one's going to give you a job for free.
Right.
You have to have the skills. So
Which
that's
is why they're
that's the
elected
motivation.
to begin with. Yeah. They just need all
Right.
the other stuff, which is the mentorship, the networking, the help, the
Exactly.
opportunity.
Exactly. So the second thing is first, a student, get involved with the programs. After you graduate, you do become an alumni. Automatically, you become an alumni, right? So you have to pay it forward, right? You have to be able to give back, and it's something that the older I get, the more that really hits home, right? How important it is to be able to give back, and that's we're always looking for additional mentors. And mentorship can come in lots of different ways. It can come from somebody with a 30-year career experience, or someone with a 5-year. Sometimes that may even hit home a little bit harder, right? Or a little bit better, because person's younger, same age, same generation. They could really
just finish what you're looking to do, and they're like, I just got out of it, and here's what I recommend. I agree.
Right.
They don't know that what they can offer early on.
Yes.
I agree with you. So there's wisdom in both sides, and you're right. They can relate a little bit more when they're younger. Like, I just finished, and here's what I did wrong, and here's what I did right. Yeah. What advice do you have? Like, what's some of the best advice you had as a young kid graduating, and what would you recommend to the new kids that are coming up and graduating or looking for jobs? What do you say?
The first thing is understand a little bit better than what you do today the role that you think you want to do when you graduate, right? Really think about that. I think one of the things that I wish I knew was the development process, right? Wherever you're going to find a job, it's going to be, you're going to be developing a product or developing a service. But what does that mean? And the important part of what that means is what role can you play in that chain, right? It's a long chain. It's a long process of what is product development, right? There's product from early on, from requirements generation, the product shall do this, shall do that. How much does it cost to build this box? How much basically building a business model for it, the testing of it, and being close to the customer, right? And deploying it to the customer. So all of that makes a big, so there's specific sub facets of engineering that are involved in every one of those stages.
Yes.
So then,
and they're all necessary to get the final product or the final service done. Yeah, I like that you say what role can you play, because we're talking more about strengths to the students and being able to develop the things that you do really well naturally and how important those are. And if you understand what they are and how you can contribute to the project or the role or the service or whatever it is, you're going to be so much better. You're going to be so much better poised to make a difference and be able to say to the person who's your manager or whatever, listen, I did this really, really well. I had an idea. What do you think about this? Trust that, because your strengths, I don't have the same strengths as you, and neither does this other person on the team that's going to sell it to the customer or get the requirements or whatever it is. But it all matters. Yes. And that's a great piece of advice. Where do you fit in? What's your role in developing that thing that you signed on to do? Yeah.
Right. And the other thing is really be open to change, right? Because once you start working, you'll learn more about this process and where you really want to end up. An example, going back to me thinking I was going to be building circuits. Well, the first job that I got was actually a customer facing role where I was in front of the customer doing deployments, right? Final stage of development, to being in front of the customer. And that changed my entire career, right? I saw things through the eyes of the customer from that point forward, right? So everything that I did, and I worked in various levels and managed teams in various levels of that, or various stages of the product development. But because I started with that customer focus, I never lost that. And it proved to be a very, very good strategy going through my career, always advocating for the customer, right? The point being, I thought I was going to be in a lab. I ended up being someplace else, but that really flourished. It made my career flourish. because I had that eye for the customer. So always be ready to change, to be ready to adjust. And what you think you know about today may be different, and the skills that you develop maybe different later on. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
love too that you're right. When you get the experience or you learn something, what's the phrase? Like when you can't, once you know, you can't say you didn't read that, you didn't hear that, you didn't see that, whatever. Now you know, and what are you going to do about it? But to
Yeah.
be at the other side with the customer, like you said, you saw it from their perspective, and now you can never not see it from their perspective, which is so valuable. And if you
Exactly.
had never gone to that role or seen that
Yeah.
side, you just would have been developing, testing, whatever, behind the scenes, and then you're never even thinking about that end,
Right.
the end product and what it's going to be in someone's hands.
Exactly. Exactly.
And it's a lesson. Like I could see a younger person just graduating saying, okay, I'm just going to stay behind here, code, build, whatever. And
Yeah.
you never
Yeah.
pick your head up and see who it's actually going to go to. You're never going to really understand the bigger picture. And then
Exactly.
the value inside that bigger picture, because you
Right.
are just, you said you need to see the bigger picture. And you also were saying you need to focus and work hard, but it's like, you have to do both. You have to
Right.
see what's around you and then work hard. Yeah.
You know, I got two other things, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
One is study leadership concepts as early as possible.
Yeah.
Right? It's not all about engineering. Understanding leadership can do two things, and I think studying leadership is something that we think it's going to be for later on in our careers when we become leaders and managers, right? But it's actually the opposite. The more you know about leadership concepts and leadership skills, the better teammate you're going to be, the better follower you're going to be, right? And it teaches you some of the other softer skills that I think when we're focused on on calculus and Fourier transforms and transistors and resistors, you don't, you're so focused on that, you don't work on some of these other softer skills that are so important, necessary in your career advancement, right? If you're going to grow, you have to develop these other skills, and the sooner you start on those, the better.
You're right, and they're not for only when you're a manager. We're launching a new program in career services, doing exactly what you're talking about. Here are all the skills you need outside of your degree, because you're going to get a degree, of course, but everyone else is going to have that same degree. What else you got is what I say. Are you a good teammate? Do you collaborate well? Are you agile and adaptable, like you were saying? Are you resilient? Do you know your strengths? What does it take to be a good leader and treat people well and be in a diverse environment? All of those things you're talking about. We're putting it all together and saying, these are all important. Learn them now, learn them as a freshman, learn them as a senior, but learn them before you leave here. So when you get out in the real world, you're going to offer so much more. You're going to be a better teammate. And eventually, if you want to be a manager or leader, you're already going to know what's important about it. But even if you're not, and you don't even aspire for that, you'll be a better teammate and you'll be a better employee, whatever it is. Yeah.
Exactly. A similar advice is study entrepreneurship. Study those concepts, because even if you don't aspire, here, let me fix this video again. I don't know. Even if you don't aspire to be an entrepreneur, there are certain skills that come with entrepreneurship that can help your career in so many ways. You can run your entire career as an entrepreneur. You can run your teams as an entrepreneurial venture, right? And when you think that, it forces you to be an out-of-the-box thinker. It helps you to be, stay one step ahead of your competition, right? It helps you be innovative. And those are all things. If you run your career like an entrepreneur, you will be successful, right? So studying those concepts is going to be very important. Now, I'm saying that also hindsight, right? Because, part of change is I also got bit by the entrepreneurial bug, and I've been running my own company for the last 10 years, right? I worked 20 years in Motorola, corporate America, and then I left for entrepreneurship, and it's been a fantastic experience, right? And I think I always ran my teams as an entrepreneur. It was a very easy transition. So you never know what's going to come, right? You never know what decision, what opportunity is going to come your way. So the more you know about leadership, the more you know about entrepreneurship, the more adaptable you're going to be.
I love that. It's also an interesting concept to think of it that way, because even if you don't ever want to own your own company, if you look at it from the eyes of that you were the owner of that company, you're going to do things in a different way. It's going to be very, very valuable to the people that are leading you and leading your company.
Yes.
And you're going to get more respect for that too, because you're going to be seeing the bigger picture. It's a more mature way of looking at your job, and not just like, well, that's not my job. It's like, oh, this is my department. This is my company. When you're more invested in it, you're going to be more thoughtful about what you're doing. You're going to take it more seriously. You're going to have, like you said, think out of the box and bigger ideas.
Exactly.
And that's what's going to help you get seen and get noticed. Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
Oh my gosh, this has been a great conversation. So if people want to get in touch with you or get involved in the network, I know I have a link to the alumni network for Illinois Tech, Illinois Connect, I think it's called. But what else can they do? What do you recommend? Hook up with you on LinkedIn?
Yes, LinkedIn is always the best way to do it, right? And if students out there are listening to this don't have a LinkedIn account, I recommend go and get one immediately, right? It's a great way to build your network, to reach out to folks. So you can reach out to me anytime on LinkedIn. There's lots of different opportunities within the LinkedIn, within the link that you will send for the alumni services. If you can send that out too, then that would be double way of getting more and more involved in these programs that are being custom built for the students,
Yes. Like you said, we want everyone that's graduating to be successful, starting their freshman year, like no matter what they end up doing. Yeah. So it's
exactly
smart to get started early. We're doing the same thing. We're teaching all the incoming freshmen, like, you need a LinkedIn profile, you need a resume, and like that. I'm 17, 18 years old. What do you mean? It's like, oh, you got to start now. You don't want to start when you need a job. You want to start now when it's, you can build it. Yeah, it's great advice.
Exactly. And if there's any alumni watching too, join the alumni organization.
Yes.
Be part of the solution. Let's a couple of hours a week. It really helps. It really helps out.
Thank you, Frank. It's been so fun talking to you. I appreciate it.
Likewise. Thanks so much for inviting me.
All right, we'll stay connected, and I'm sure people are going to get some great tips from you today, and I'm excited for them to hear from you and about you. So nice job today. Thanks.
Well, thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
All right, everyone. We'll see you in the alumni network, everyone, eventually, right?
We sure will. All
right, take care, everyone. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening, everyone. Check out the Illinois Tech Connect platform. It's the official networking site for Illinois Tech alumni. It's operated by Illinois Institute of Technology Alumni Association with help from Career Services. The aim of the platform is to connect our entire alumni community to provide a space for communication, networking, and other opportunities. Also, join the Illinois Tech Career Services group on LinkedIn and learn about all things career related. And be sure to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Finally, as an alum, whenever you need career guidance or advice, you're always welcome to connect to the Career Services Department, make an appointment with a career coach, and take advantage of this lifelong resource available to all alumni. We can't wait to help you, and more importantly, we can't wait to see what you do.